To another broadcast of Monica at Home. Tonight I am here with
Jamesson.
Now, many of you might not be familiar with James Jamesson, but many of you might be familiar with James Jamesson because James Jamesson is the individual who was caught up in a bit of a media frenzy in regards to the Cameron Reed / Derek Burt's AIDS issue in the news. Now, I guess before we begin, let me ask you what brought you and I to this point right now.
I think 2 days ago, I had checked my Twitter account and saw that a tweet had been posted about James Jamesson that said that I had been spreading HIV knowingly, and that this person had called me and talked to me, and I told them that I was this and I told them that I was that, and just out to maliciously slander my name.
So in other words, somebody's been spreading rumors about you online that you're HIV positive, and you are indeed not.
I am tested, and I am not. I'm all negative. I've been tested. I got tested in mid-January, and I will get tested again in probably mid-March, and I can guarantee the results.
Right.
I'm always safe, and I always will be.
And you always shoot condom scenes, correct?
All my scenes are with condom.
Okay, now the next thing that we're going to talk about this evening, I suppose, will be the O.T.O. The O.T.O. I'm going to talk about my encounter with the O.T.O., my run-in with them, my thoughts on them, and the history behind this organization, because it's something that really needs to be discussed because it's real. And I personally feel that quite a few of the people who are members of this particular organization do not have the best intention, because they're using trickery to recruit new members, and that's not cool. You know, if you have a religious organization or whatever it is, you don't have to trick people to get them to join it. If they want to join it, they'll come to it naturally. So before we get to that, let's go ahead and take a break. The O.T.O. The O.T.O. stands for Ordo Templi Orientis. According to Wikipedia, it says Ordo Templi Orientis, Order of the Temple of the East, or Order of the Temple, or Order of the Oriental Templars, is an international fraternal and religious organization founded in the beginning of the 20th century. English author and occultist Aleister Crowley has become the most well-known member of the order. Originally, it was intended to be modeled after and associated with Freemasonry, but under the leadership of Aleister Crowley, O.T.O. was reorganized around the law of Thelema and its central religious principle. This law, expressed as, "Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law," and "Love is the law, love under will," was promulgated in 1904 with the dictation of the Book of the Law. Similar to many secret societies, O.T.O. membership is based on an initiatory system with a series of degree ceremonies that use ritual drama to establish fraternal bonds and impart spiritual and philosophical teachings. Now, if you want to read more of this, I will link it up on monicaathome.com. But let's go to the origins, okay? History. The early history of the O.T.O. is difficult to trace reliably. It originated in Germany or Austria between 1895 and 1906. Its apparent founder was Karl Kellner, probably with the German spelling Karl spelled with a K, a wealthy Austrian industrialist in 1895, although nothing verifiable is known of the order until 1904. Theodor Roos, 1855 to 1923, collaborated with Kellner in creating O.T.O. and succeeded him as head of O.T.O. after Kellner's death. Under Roos, charters were given to occult brotherhoods in France, Denmark, Switzerland, and the USA and Austria. There were 9 degrees, of which the first 6 were Masonic. In 1902, Roos, along with Franz Hartmann and Henry Klein, purchased the right to perform the Rite of Memphis in Mizraim of Freemasonry, the authority of which was confirmed in 1904 and again in 1905. Although these rites are considered to be irregular, they, along with Swedenborg Rite, or with the Swedenborg Rite, formed the core of the newly established order. Let's skip forward a little bit. Initiation and teachings. Membership in the O.T.O. is based upon a system of initiation ceremonies, or degrees, which use ritual drama to establish fraternal bonds between members as well as impart spiritual and philosophical teachings. The degrees also serve as an organizational function in that certain degrees must be attained before taking on various forms of service in the order. There are 13 numbered degrees and 12 unnumbered degrees, which are divided into 3 grades or triads: the hermit, the lover, and the man of earth. Anyone can believe whatever they want to believe, but I have some issues with this. I have some serious issues with this. And mainly due to the fact that it has to do with magic. And I'm not talking, magic like go to a magic show, someone pulls a rabbit out of a hat. I'm talking about magic with a K on the end of it. People trying to manipulate or orchestrate events against the will of others. I have an issue with that because I think it goes against God and our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I could be wrong. I obviously don't know everything about the O.T.O., but what I do know is that the people that I encountered that were a part of it, they weren't good people. And I do believe that they tried to hurt someone who was a friend of mine. And I do believe that they brought in an ex-friend of mine against her free will. So that's what we're going to talk about. Before you become a part of any religion, you need to look at its founders and you need to see what it's really about. Now, the O.T.O., everyone talks about this Aleister Crowley being the main guy who started it, but that's not true. It was actually a guy by the name of P.B. Randolph, who was I think he was a free man of color in the early colonial period of the United States. And that's who wrote a book that Aleister Crowley based a lot of his teachings off of. This is a little known thing, and it was actually one of the people that I got to know, who, I don't know whether he's still in the O.T.O. or not. He told me that he left, but who knows. He familiarized me with this P.B. Randolph and gave me a book that he wrote. And I read through a bit of it. I didn't read the whole thing. A lot of it was just too much of things that I disagreed with, and I really try not to cloud my mind with too many things that I think are of the dark and that are negative. But, oops, hold on, my little dog. Panda! Alright. But, one thing I've noticed about this O.T.O. is that there is a lot of racism involved with a lot of their members. Now, I'm sure that there are some black O.T.O. members somewhere, but the ones that I encountered, they definitely had some issues with people who were not white Americans. So, again, that was another red flag that told me definitely stay away from these people. But, if you go to this one website, and it's on a website called bobbycampbell.org, and I'll put the link to the specific page that I'm referring to. These O.T.O. people, they're summoning demons or some sort of spiritual realm that the manifestations of these demons, they look like those little gray aliens pretty much. I'm going to post and link all this up, and it's very strange. It's very strange. I'm going to read a bit of this. During the winter of 1918 in New York City, Aleister Crowley and Scarlet Woman Rhodey Minor conducted the Amalanthra working. This sexual and ceremonial ritual was intended to open a magical porthole through which invoked interdimensional intelligences that could come to physical manifestation. An egg-headed character called Lom is supposed to have been the resultant visitor from this most peculiar experiment. And I'm actually getting chills talking about this because it's freaky. Those little gray aliens. Something tells me that they're up to no good. Crowley claimed his artistic rendering of Lom, pictured left, and I'll link up this picture, was the portrait he drew from real life. The image was published in 1919 within a book of Crowley's commentary on Madame Blavatsky's The Voice of the Silence. The image was titled The Way and included the following inscription. Lam is the Tibetan word for way or path, and Lama is he who goeth, the specific title of the gods of Egypt, the trader of the path, or treader of the path. In Buddhistic phraseology, its numerical value is 71, the number of this book. And, if you are familiar with numerology, such as I am, 71, 7 and 1, that equals 8. 8 is a number, that means infinity if you turn it horizontal. And 8 is also the number of wealth and money. I don't think anyone needs to deal with this or mess with this, these kind of teachings. I think that, the people I met when I encountered these O.T.O. people, some of them might have been fairly intelligent, but for the most part, they didn't strike me as the brightest kids on the block. And unless you're really going to educate yourself, about the history of something like this, you don't need to mess with it. Because it's very dangerous. It's very dangerous. But what's interesting about these practices that the O.T.O likes to do is that it does have to do with sex, which is why I feel the O.T.O is so prevalent in the porn industry, because what better an industry to recruit for your magical rituals that include sexual activity than to work in porn. It's the best gateway. Who knows? Maybe that's why porn even exists. It's for, these ritualistic practices. I don't know, but look, if you're in porn out there and you come across these O.T.O people, pick up your Bible, open it up, I actually found a forum today talking about Aleister Crowley in particular, and apparently this guy, he was a pedophile. He was into young kids, young boys. And oh shoot, I meant to talk about this earlier. I did talk about the depiction of children. I mean, even if some of the actors and actresses are over the age of 18, in some of these adult movies that are coming out, they're making these actors and actresses look like kids. And the depiction of kids in porn, that's kiddie porn. And that's not right. That's not something that anyone needs to see, because kids are innocent and they should retain their innocence until they're adults. And I mean, if this Aleister Crowley was into young boys, then that's telling me, and so many people in porn are a part of this O.T.O, that's just telling me something really, really bad. And this is a forum, and I'll link up to the threads. And here's some things that somebody wrote about Aleister Crowley. It says, Aleister Crowley is known for raping and killing little boys, not eating babies. Apparently someone thought that he was eating babies, but I mean, hey, what's worse, raping and killing little boys or eating babies? Seems the same thing to me. Equally evil. Aleister Crowley was worshipped a lot by satanic people because of his magic skills and knowledge of the esoteric. The alien contact is probably true and has to deal with the lesser keys of Solomon and the summoning of demons. The stuff you see in movies where they draw pentagrams and summon evil creatures is basically the same thing he did. And that's why I'm very worried about that kink.com and some of that. I mean, there's a lot of Satanism in the porn industry. There's a lot of there's so much. There's just so much. Here's another thing. It says Aleister Crowley was known to some and learned from these demons, and he said that he was actually assessing parts of your own mind, but I don't believe in that. I believe the spirits of the Goetia are aliens, and remote viewers of their practices have also said the same thing. This is somebody whose screen name is Conspirator on disclose.tv, okay? Aleister Crowley nicknamed himself the Beast, like the 666 satanic beast, because he knew he was the destroyer of man. People worship this twisted individual for the things he did and the knowledge he gained, but he was a very sick, twisted man, nothing to be looked up to. He liked to write poems, a lot of them about raping and killing little boys, which he bragged he had killed hundreds, and he came up with the notion that raping little boys made him immortal. And he wrote about it, which pissed off the Satanists, because only the highest ranks of Satanism, or in the highest ranks of Satanism, are you supposed to learn or know that garbage idea. And for your information, to become a higher ranking member of Satanism, you have to become a practicing Catholic preacher. Gee, wonder all them priests. Ooh, this person's going off. I'm going to link this up. But this all ties into the Illuminati. Okay? I think that this information is meant to get out there to whoever it is watching me right now, because otherwise this broadcast would have been cut right when I started talking about this stuff. But right now there's a major imbalance in this world between good and evil. It's a major imbalance. And considering that there are so many O.T.O members in the porn industry, and I believe in the music industry as well, and I believe in our political system, and I believe just throughout every industry and, you know, the world, it's time to familiarize yourself with this stuff so you can know what to look out for, and so that you can know, you can just see the signs. Because I do believe that right now we're getting ready to go through a big consciousness shift, and, you know, all the veils of illusion, they're coming down. And as they come down, a lot of this is going to become a lot more obvious. So it's time to educate yourself, because if you're going to be in the light, you need to be aware of the dark. All right, let me get to my experience with these people, because it really frightened me. But I drew strength from it, and I'm a stronger person now after having dealt with these people. I guess the way for me to, I made some notes so I wouldn't forget about reaching any points in regards to this. This all came, I guess this all started when I met a girl who, she's no longer a porn talent, but she was. She's retired right now, and she's married, and she's pregnant. You know, I wish her the absolute best. I'm not going to say her real name, but I met a girl by the name of Cherry Ferretti. I met her when I first signed up with a publicity company, a porn publicity company called Galaxy Publicity, and the guy who runs it, James Barley, wonderful acting coach, very, very talented person. But through him, I met Cherry, and really cool girl, really nice girl. I don't know how she is currently. Haven't spoke to her since my last run-in with the O.T.O people. But at the time when I first met her, I'll say that she was very vibrant, full of life. You know, she was living in a model. Well, when I first met her, she was staying with James Barley, and then she wound up going to a model house to live. And throughout the time when I first met her, like I said, very vibrant, full of energy, full of life, ambitious, very ambitious. She had the goal of starting her own porn studio. She was a very good networker, very, very friendly girl. She could talk to anybody, very communicative. And later that changed when she met a guy named David, who I assume that's who she got married to, and who she's most likely pregnant from. A little history on David. David, I don't know how she met him, but from what I know of him, he was an adult industry webmaster, and he had a roommate by the name of Brian. I'm not going to say his last name. If anything weird happens, though, I might. But from the beginning, I felt like David had the intention of cutting off Cherry from a lot of things that she enjoyed in life, which is common for people to do who are involved with cults. But, you know, that was her relationship, but she and I, we were friends. Anyway, through her, I wound up meeting another friend of hers at the time by the name of Tommy. So, I'd say maybe 1 or 2 months go by, she and I would hang out. Through Cherry, I met another girl who worked in porn who has since pretty much dropped off the face of the planet. I hope that she's okay. Her stage name was Ava Ellington. So the three of us, we became fairly good friends, I won't say best friends, but fairly good friends. We would hang out and everything. As Cherry and David got to know each other, David discloses to Cherry that he's a part of this O.T.O. And she tells me about it, and those of you who are familiar with me, you know I'm a researcher. So I, bring out my trusty laptop and I look up O.T.O. and I start learning about it. And the more I learned about it, the more I told her, the more both of us were kind of like, this is a bit off, I am a very open-minded person, but there was just something off, about the whole thing. As Cherry and David's relationship progresses, he discloses to her that he's a wizard. And I'm not not like an actor, like he's a wizard in a play. He really believed, or believes, who knows what he believes now. He really believed that he could do magic. He had a magic wand, a cape, or a cloak. She even showed me a video of him practicing some sort of a ritual with his magic wand, saying some sort of magic words or ritualistic words, I don't know. So, time goes on, I get to know this guy Tommy more, who really helped her out. Cherry was going through a lot of health problems, and Tommy would take her to the doctor when she needed to go and drive her around wherever it is that she needed to, visit and whatnot. Prior to that, David's roommate, Brian, would do that for her. But, as I knew Cherry, I felt that Cherry, she was involved in some things in the adult world that I personally felt that she was too good to be involved in. But then again, I've done some things in the adult world that I feel I'm too good when I look back to have been involved in. And she didn't want David to know about it, but being that this guy Brian was driving her to some of these things that she shouldn't be involved in, and they were roommates, I didn't understand how David would not have known about some of this activity, but, I didn't live in that house with them. Eventually Cherry moved in with David. It was the three of them living in that house. So, who knows? Anyway, as she and Tommy get closer, Tommy starts, because I think Brian moved out, but Tommy starts to take over in regards to getting her to her doctor's appointments and driving her wherever she needs to go and whatnot. And Tommy even drove us, me, Ava, and Cherry, to out to a party one night where we got to go into, we got to take a limo to this really cool party out here in Hollywood. And I have some pictures of it actually, before we went to the party. And I had the impression that Tommy was a good guy. Who knows though? Who knows? People can switch just like that. I mean, I recently wrote about a dude who raped me, who I felt when I first met him was a good guy, and it turned out that he wasn't. So, first impressions are not everything. I've learned that. But I guess I'll get to the part where I first encountered the O.T.O. So I knew David, who was in the O.T.O. at the time. His roommate Brian was in it. Brian, I think he was trying to recruit me into it. I'm not sure. He was the one who familiarized me with this P.B. Randolph, and he was trying to make the O.T.O. appealing to me by saying that this P.B. Randolph, he was like, oh, he was a black guy. He was black just like you. You could be in the O.T.O. And I was like, He was even trying to get me to help him put together some sort of a sex ritual video series outlining how to do some of these sex rituals. And the second that he said, oh, we need an altar, that's when I knew that the O.T.O. is not for me. But at that point, it just seemed like an alternative religion that seemed okay. I hadn't seen any danger yet. I noticed Cherry's personality beginning to change. I felt that David was starting to isolate her from her friends, and I'm not just talking about from me. Ava and I, we began to talk a bit more. Initially, I would only really talk to Ava if it was Cherry, Ava, and I hanging out, but Ava and I, we had some commonalities, so we became closer friends. Ava disclosed some things about this guy David, to where I was like, let's research this O.T.O. a bit more and see what it's about. But before we did that, I got invited to this party where I got to meet some of David's O.T.O. members. It was at an apartment complex out here not in Hollywood, it was in West Hollywood. I live in Hollywood. And these people, they seemed okay. It seemed nice. It seemed like a regular party and everything. This guy Tommy was there also. The only people I really knew there were the guy Tommy who Cherry knew, and David, her boyfriend. I go there, they were all very friendly. A little bit too friendly, really. A little too friendly. I think Cherry had told them that maybe I was open to being a member of the O.T.O. I don't know. But at one point, it was like a pool party, even though no one was swimming, it was in the pool common area of the apartment complex. At one point I had to use the bathroom. So I asked the guy who was the host of the party if I could use the bathroom. I go in the bathroom. The rest of his apartment, from what I could see, looked normal until I go into the bathroom. And it was all this Egyptian stuff. I've only seen so much Egyptian stuff one other time in my life outside of a museum. And that was through a very wealthy person that I got to know when I first entered porn, who was very, for some reason, into Egyptian theology. And I think that's cool if you're into history and you're into Egyptian stuff. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're trying to summon a demon and being, a part of the O.T.O. But there was something odd about all this Egyptian stuff in this man's bathroom. So I walked in, I couldn't even use the bathroom, walked right back out. A lot of the people at this party, it is Hollywood, so, of course, a lot of people who live in Hollywood work in the entertainment industry, but some of the people at this party seemed to be very up there in the entertainment industry, and, I don't know, something wasn't right. Something just wasn't right. So a few weeks go by, and I noticed Cherry starting to change a little bit more. She became very withdrawn. She wasn't the same girl that I knew. This guy David seemed to have her on like a curfew, and kind of restricted her time with different friends that she had, which again is common of what cults do when they're bringing somebody else into the cult. And I'm going to link up some signs and some characteristics of cults on Monica at Home, because I think that more people need to be aware of this, especially if you know somebody who's working in the adult entertainment industry, or if you're thinking about it, or if you're trying to pull somebody else out. You need to look for some of these things that are on this list that I have. So it all really comes to a head when I went for a hike one day over at Griffith Park, because I like to go hiking, and I get this frantic call from this girl, Ava, and she's like, "Oh my God, Alexandra, you need to call Cherry." And I'm like, what's going on? What's wrong? And she's like, "Cherry's been raped." And, immediately I go into panic mode because I've been raped before. And I'm like, "Oh my God, who raped her?" And she's like, "Tommy raped her." And I'm like, "What?" I don't know if he did or not. I'm not even going to attempt to guess whether he did or not, because when it comes to people who rape, sometimes you never see it coming. So I'm taking Cherry's word for it that she was raped. So I called Cherry, and I'm like, "Cherry, I just heard from Ava that you were raped." But when I talked to her, it was kind of like she sounded surprised that I knew. But she was like, "Yeah, I was," and I'm like, "Okay, well, I'm gonna come and see." So I get in my car, I drive over there, and I, see if she's okay. She seemed like she was okay, and I, Ava wasn't able to get to Cherry that day because she was somewhere out of LA. She was on like a Playboy shoot or something. She did something for Playboy TV, so Maybe Cherry never wanted me to know about it. I don't know what the deal was, but I called Tommy because I had his phone number, and I'm like, Tommy, did you rape Cherry? Now, Tommy told me that he didn't. But I don't know who to believe in this particular situation, because the whole thing was so weird. It was just so weird. So I think Cherry went to the hospital, and I'm pretty sure that she filed a police report and everything. And a couple days passed, and she wasn't feeling well. And you know, even if you can look at her Twitter, and this all occurred around September 26th of 2010. You can look at her Twitter, and you can see that she wasn't feeling well. She, you know, tweeted that and everything. And so anyway, they decide to have a barbecue at her place, and she invites Ava and I to this barbecue. So Ava and I, we get to talking, and just something about the whole situation didn't seem right, especially when it came to this whole O.T.O thing, because we noticed David getting increasingly possessive over her, to where she couldn't go out. You know, she just changed. It was like she was like brainwashed, you know. And I know that we all go through changes in life. You know, I've gone through a ton of changes. You can look at all my past Monica homes, and you can see everything I've gone through. You can read my blogs, you know. But this whole change happened so quickly. It was interesting. So anyway, she invites us to this barbecue. And before we go to the barbecue, Ava's like, you know, I've been talking to a friend of mine who works in law enforcement, and I mentioned the O.T.O to him, and he said that he wanted to talk to you about it. So I'm like, all right. So I talked to this guy, and he's like, you know, you really need to talk to your friend Cherry about this O.T.O because a lot of times, you know, there's a lot of money involved with this particular organization, and you know, there's a lot of ritualistic stuff, and it's hard to get people out, and sometimes family members lose their children to this organization. So that scared me, and I'd already sent Cherry a lot of information that I found online about this organization, but Ava and I came to the conclusion that we needed to talk to Cherry away from David to familiarize her with some of this stuff that the O.T.O is involved with. So we talked to her law enforcement friend, and he was like, you got to get her out of the house to do it, because we knew that at this barbecue there were going to be all these O.T.O members there. So we go to the barbecue, and our plan was, you know, we were going to go to Starbucks because Cherry loves Starbucks. She loved those iced coffees. We were going to go to Starbucks and just chit-chat and then go back to the barbecue. Something told me to put my Bible in my purse. We go over to Cherry's house. She lived with David. I see these O.T.O people. The house inside before looked different than when I went that day. They had all this Egyptian stuff up all around their house. They lived in like a triplex kind of situation. You know, I call it a house, but it was like a different, it was like a house in the front and then a house in the back, maybe like a duplex. But we go in, and it was supposed to be a barbecue, right? And we actually were like an hour and a half late from when it started. And there was no food. There was like a few appetizers, and I found this website about the O.T.O cult where they were talking about like making these special cookies with like drugs and, you know, some sort of like human parts or something in them. You know, not to say that that's what was in these cookies that I saw, but they looked like the cookies that I saw on the website. So I had actually told Ava before we go in, I was like, look, don't eat, drink, or smoke anything. Because, you know, something could be wrong. You know, I don't want to end up drugged and a part of anyone's ritual or anything. So we go in, there's all this Egyptian stuff all around the house. And again, Cherry did not like herself. You know, maybe she smoked some weed, I don't know, but it seemed like it was a state that she was in that was beyond marijuana. Maybe not, but I'm not sure. So anyway, we're all sitting on the patio, and there's this O.T.O guy who I'm pretty good at figuring out hierarchical systems when it comes to seeing people in a group. And the guy who was talking to Ava and I, you could tell that he was the ringleader of them, or at least the highest ranking person. Even though there was nothing designating it, you could just tell from his attitude, real cocky. And he started joking about making a bit of a racial joke, which, you know, racial stuff, that tells me a lot about a person when they do that. You know, I've been guilty of saying or writing racial things, but not anymore. But this guy, he was a bit, I felt like he was, for some reason, like, aggressive toward me. I don't know why. But I could tell that he was really into Ava, you know? So, you know, maybe it was just because Ava, she was a very pretty girl, but I think that there was something more to it, because I don't think I was ever supposed to know about what happened with Tommy, and I don't think I was ever supposed to know about what happened with, I don't think I was supposed to be at that barbecue, really. So anyway, it was pretty hot out that particular day. So I say to Cherry, I'm like, Cherry, you know, it's pretty hot out. There doesn't seem to be any food cooking, because there wasn't. I mean, how are you going to have a barbecue without any barbecue? Doesn't make any sense. So I'm like, you know, let's go to Starbucks, you know, and get iced coffee. So at first, she's like, yeah, let's go, but let me go ask David. And since when does, I mean, I don't know, everyone has different kinds of relationships, but in the past, she never had to ask him permission to go anywhere, but she had to ask him that day. And there was something interesting about that particular day, September 26, 2010, and I'll get to that at the end of this. She goes inside and asks David, and it's like taken a really long time for her to ask. So Ava and I go inside the house, and we're like, where's Cherry? I'm sorry, I'm going to have to edit this. But David's like, oh, well, she can't go anywhere. And I'm like, okay. Well, you know, we were going to go to Starbucks, and it seemed like she wanted to get Starbucks. And he's like, no, she'll be here, but if you guys want to go and get Starbucks and come back, you can do that. So I'm like, well, where's Cherry at? And she was in the bathroom. Now keep in mind, she just went through a rape. So I can understand being very traumatized from that kind of situation. But she's in the bathroom. David goes into the bathroom. They're in there for a while. So Ava goes and knocks on the door. And no one's coming out. And then David opens the door, won't let her out of the bathroom. And I see her sitting there looking scared to death. And he's like, you know, she just got raped. She's with us now. And I'm like, yeah, but we were going to go to Starbucks. You know, we need some girl time. And he gets kind of like, you know, like he stiffens himself up. And like he's giving me this look like he's trying to like, I think he was trying to do some sort of like incantation or hypnotize me with his eyes. I'm not certain. But he kept saying, she's with us now. She's with us now. She's with us now. He kept saying this like he was trying to like somehow hypnotize me, but it wasn't working. So Ava and I look at each other, and then he's like, well, you know, that guy Tommy, it seems to me like you're on Tommy's side about this, and blah, blah. And I'm like, look, I'm not on anybody's side because I've been raped before, but I want to talk to Lauren about some things. And he's like, well, she's with us now, and then he pulls a pocket knife out of his pocket. I take that as a threat. So Ava and I look at each other, and we're like, okay, well, we're going to go to Starbucks. So we go to Starbucks, and we never went back to that house. That was it. Because we were scared. I mean, my heart hadn't raced like that. I mean, my heart is racing now sharing this with y'all, but I think it's important to share it because this is a situation I'm not entirely clear. Maybe there was nothing weird going on, but I think that there was something weird going on. You know, I feel like that O.T.O specifically, at least that particular group of them, targeted girls who worked in the adult entertainment industry, because that guy Brian, who was David's ex-roommate, was telling me about how all these rituals that they do have to do with sexual activity, and I think that they want porn girls in order to do their rituals. And I think that they brainwash a lot of these girls. That's really what I think. So Ava and I, we wound up calling her friend who was in law enforcement, and we told him about what happened. He was like, you know, you girls did the right thing getting out of there, because she's in. And if anything, they were trying to recruit y'all, but I don't think they were trying to recruit me. I think they were trying to recruit Ava, because I don't think I was ever supposed to know about that rape, and I don't think I was ever supposed to be at that barbecue. You know, I haven't heard from Ava. I heard from her. We checked up on each other a little bit out of that, but she's kind of dropped off the radar, and I don't blame her. She was much more frightened about that than I was. While she was driving to go stay with a friend that particular night, I was on the phone with her the entire time, and we were just praying with each other, because something was wrong. That night in my apartment, I have never lost electricity in this apartment, and my lights kept flickering, and I just held my dog, and I just prayed to God. I kept saying the Lord's Prayer, because that's really the only prayer I have memorized. But you know, I hope that Cherry is fine in her life. I think it's great that she's married. I hope that she has a healthy baby. You know, if the O.T.O is right for her, fantastic. But my problem with that particular situation and instance, and my problem with the recruitment tactic, is that you don't trick somebody to become a part of your religious group. You just don't do that. You need to disclose everything. I mean, I don't understand why this O.T.O is such a secret society if it's okay. It doesn't make any sense. Why has it got to be secret? And what's up with all this sex stuff, you know, and the religion? To make magic, to try to supersede free will? I don't like that. I don't like it. But let me see if there's anything else I wanted to add. Well, you know, I do wonder if somehow some of these porn wiki people are involved with this O.T.O. I mean, if they're involved in the adult entertainment world, why wouldn't they be involved in the O.T.O, being that there's so many O.T.O people in the porn industry? Because I noticed on that site that they refer to God and Jesus Christ as the imaginary man in the sky. God's not imaginary. God's real. And why would anyone say that unless they're not of God, or they're not a part of God, and they're basically Satanists? And that seems to be what the O.T.O is. So, you know, I'm going to splice in an interview that I saw with Tupac Shakur recently in regards to the Illuminati and some of these cults and stuff out here in Los Angeles, and specifically Hollywood, California, because I think there was a reason that he was offed, you know. And again, you know, not just because of the porn wiki site, but because of just everything that I've realized is so involved in the porn industry. I hope, just pray for me that nothing happens to me, because I am taking a risk sharing some of this with you. A part of me is afraid for my life. I feel that God and Jesus Christ are with me right now in this room, helping me relate this to you, because I have chills right now telling you some of this stuff because it really scared me. But I'm hoping that this could save some people from getting involved in some things that maybe they won't be able to get out of later. That's something about porn, once they try to make it seem like it's so elitist and so hard to get in, but you know what? They need you to continue. And it's the same thing with these cults. They have to bring you in to continue, and they don't want to let you go. I mean, I feel like that's why I'm dealing with a lot of the personal attacks and attacks on my family, because not only do I speak out about some of this stuff, but I'm warning other people. And I think that I do believe that I have a lot of personal power. And I think that somebody saw that within me and they wanted to turn me away from the light. Well, guess what? Didn't work. So, I'm going to splice in that interview with Tupac Shakur here. And, I wanted to get to this. On that particular day, September 26, 2010, there was a major UFO sighting. And there's video footage of it on YouTube, and I'll splice this in also because y'all have to see this. And if you look at some of these links with that little demon or alien that Aleister Crowley supposedly summoned, and like I said, those Nephilim aliens, I think that they are among us, demons. I don't know what they are, okay? I think that some of us might be some sort of genetic hybrids between the rudimentary human being and these things. But that day, there was a major UFO sighting, and I think that's why I think that day was some sort of a special O.T.O. day. I don't know, but it's kind of more than coincidence, I think, that all that happened that day, and there was that crazy UFO sighting. I mean, there's a lot of UFO sightings, but this was a major one. So, this broadcast is getting kind of long. So there were some more things I wanted to cover today, but we'll save that for another day. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. I'm going to stick around and take some comments and questions. And I'll open my Skype up if anyone wants to Skype in. But I do appreciate you listening to this, and I hope that if you feel that there's someone out there who needs to hear this information, share it with them, because I think it's pretty important, especially in these times that we live in. So once again, thank you for watching Monica at Home, and look for my upcoming broadcast, thingsiquestion.com. And if you want to learn more about me, you can always go to monicaf.com, and soon I'm going to redevelop the website under my real name, Alexandra Mayers, which is alexandrameyers.com.